everyone. Welcome all to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. I am Mike, aka Veteran Crypto, and this is Jeff, aka the Blockchain Report. How's it going, brother?
What's up? Doing great, man. Doing great. Had a nice finish to my weekend. It's been a nice little heat wave here, but can't complain, man. Can't complain. How's everything going on your end?
Oh, going good. I've been taking it kind of easy today. Actually getting ready for my trip down to Southern California, so
Oh
been doing like
yeah.
some housework and getting things straightened up. Gonna go see the Shane Gillis concert. So
Oh man,
the
that'll be a
the
good
comedy show.
time.
So yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Me and the lady are gonna go down there and visit. But yeah, no, I actually spent the day. I dipped into the Keeta Discord and met some of the folks in there. And any of you that are in the chat, it was a pleasure talking with you. Invited all of them to come over here and jump in the chat and see if they can keep us straight on the facts. So, first episode, we hit up the just kind of the overall general details of what Kita is as a project and kind of some of the technicals and fundamentals. And we felt like, me and Jeff felt like we didn't, give it, it's kind of full due. And we wanted to also talk about the earning potential and those aspects of Kita, because as you can see today, we're pumping some more, and so definitely want to touch on that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about. I was trying to kind of divine from some of the people in the Discord. They had mentioned that because we don't always get things right. I mean, there's only so much you can learn about a project in a week or two. When you're doing everything else. But there was one point that we did get wrong, I guess, and that is that Kita does not have smart contracts, and so we're going to dive into that a little bit as well. Jeff, kind of dipped into it a little bit, but hopefully the chat can help us out. So with that, Jeff, do you want to do the socials, and then I'll just kind of pop into kind of how the markets are doing and stuff?
Yeah, let me share this screen real quick. Welcome everybody. Appreciate y'all for joining us this wonderful Monday. Hope your week's starting out great. You can catch us live Monday and Saturday here on DeFi Crypto and Airdrop at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And like Mike said, we're continuing our conversation from Saturday. Usually we do a new project each episode, but this one we feel we needed to extend, and I'm interested to dive into more of the test net too. And also, you can check out our other channels: Discover Crypto, Mine, the Blockchain Report, Vets, Life, Liberty, and Liquidity, The Basement, and one more is missing, BitLab. But also, you can catch us on X, the only DCA. Make sure you get these right because we will never reach out to you. You can follow Vet at Veteran4Crypto and me at the BCR142. Like I said, we will not reach out to you asking for investment advice or to invest for you. And if anybody's reaching out to you that looks like a scammer asking for money, reach out to us, message us first, and send us a screenshot or something. I've had people do that in the past, and just to make sure, hey, is this you? No, it's not. So just be safe. Also, we have a Discord. Let me pull that up real quick. And we got a lot of fun stuff in here. So, like Ellie said, to those who fade DeFi, firmly grasp the L. Because we are earning. Well, my plume pool is kind of out of range right now, but it's okay.
Yeah,
I've earned enough to make up for the pullback, so I'm just sitting
absolutely.
on free plume right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I've definitely packed my plume bag, but just waiting for that main net to go live this week. They
Mm-hmm.
officially came out and said it was going to be this week. It hasn't. I haven't seen anything yet, but we still got 4 more days of the work week. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump on the usual DeFi llama. So as you can see on the Yama, we are flattened out when it comes to TVL and the DEX volumes. So, it feels like the markets are waiting for some sort of catalyst. We're just kind of crabbing sideways. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing for those of us in DeFi. We don't want to see. a whole lot of volatility that's knocking us at, on your ranged position. So that's what I love about is when the markets are trending sideways, we're all if the markets are pumping, we're getting price appreciation and we're earning yield. And if we go out of range towards the top end in a range position, you just rebalance and you keep getting price appreciation. You keep earning yield. The price appreciation isn't, exactly what you would get if you hodled, but if you do it right, the yield makes up. So that being said, um, yeah, not too worried about the markets trending sideways. However, our topic, Keeta, Keeta is actually doing quite well. Let me bring that up real quick. So you can see, just as, soon as May, we were down here in the, 10, 11 cent range. And Keeta went out for a run and it got up into the 80 cent range, had a couple of pullbacks. There's actually a couple of wicks here and here. Oh, here we go. You can see we had a couple of wicks here and here where it beat up against $1. And anybody that's been in crypto and investing knows that there's psychological levels. And I'm not a big TA guy. It's we're kind of seeing if we can get somebody that can come on a regular basis and give us some TA. But um,
Mm-hmm.
the basics are you can see that it beat its head up against it twice, and right now it's like a zombie trying to get through a floor. It's like, beating its head up against it. You're trying to get out of the basement. It's beating its head up against it with a fierceness, and we've just broke over it right now. So we're at $1 and almost 2 cents. So hopefully it can start closing out candles. Oh, it just dipped down below. It heard me talking. It got skittish on us. So yeah, it's and we're back up to $1.03. So we'll see if it can start closing out some candles above $1 and flip that resistance to support. If it can flip that resistance to support, then potentially we can start looking at higher targets. Um, I'm new to Keeta. The channel's new to Keeta, but after digging into it for the past week, I opened a liquidity position about a week ago and started earning really, really well. So we decided to do a deep dive in the project. We did that on Saturday. Almost immediately after that, it wasn't because of us, obviously, but Keto, did a pump, and so again, we wanted to touch on it again tonight and talk a little bit about kind of the ways that we're earning with it because that's what we do here. We're all about earning on our bags. So, with that being said, we have the RWA.xyz. Always like to check in on this. We're still going parabolic on tokenized assets. All these real world assets that are being tokenized. You know, all of them are. We got Ethereum, ZK Sync, Stellar, Aptos, Solana, Polygon, Arbitrum, Algorand, Avalanche, and good old XRP Ledger. They're all starting to get being used to tokenize real world assets. This is going to be a huge narrative. I don't no matter how you feel about institutions and them getting involved in crypto, and it's we're past that point. They are going to be a part of crypto. The use cases
Mm-hmm.
are everything that they're looking for. The liquidity aspect, and making things highly liquid, art, real estate, all these things that we're always talking about, stocks, bonds, treasuries, um, the list goes on, and it's going to allow liquidity to move more freely and more efficiently, cross borders and globally, without not worrying about if there's humans awake that make those things happen. So, and this goes back to what we mentioned before about smart contracts, where and that's why I'm kind of interested to dive deeper into this because I'm very very curious to understand how Keeta is able to do the functions of smart contracts if it doesn't have smart contracts. It just, like I said, I'm not Jeff is much more technical, so I'm going to lean on him for that. But with that, that's about all the news I got. You want to go ahead and jump on into this smart contract talk, and maybe we can get some alpha from the chat.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at the white paper and stuff right now because I know they said it's yeah, that what X509 certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull this up
Let me check it
because
on
I
my.
am more of a visual person, so seeing what the differences between anchors and the smart contracts. I mean, I'm not, a software developer. More of like a hardware engineer, hands-on type of person.
Well, you're
So
you're you're more than just like a hardware engineer.
oh,
You are a
yeah,
hardware engineer.
yeah, yeah. I design circuit boards, so very very nerdy. But this whole smart contract stuff, comparing it or it being nothing like these anchors. I'm very familiar with smart contracts and seen them and how they work, but I can't really find anything that kind of goes more in depth on these anchors and how to create. Like it shows how creating an anchor in the documents, but it doesn't really explain
What an anchor is.
what it is and how it functions or operates like under the hood.
Yeah.
Um, if anyone out there watching knows, or at least can show, like
Or
I
if you
don't know if there's
go,
like GitHub commits or anything like that to show if there's scripts that they run or if it's just like I don't know.
well, and if it's, if we have people in the chat that are from the Keeta community, I mean, I know that they
Mhm.
have a direct line, and me and you both joined the Keeta Discord today. They actually have a channel in there where the devs hang out and will answer questions. I mean, maybe we can ask one of them
Mhm.
to come on and explain it. Because again, I want to make sure that we get this right. We can only put out the information that we're able to, divine ourselves from, white papers and stuff like that. And I went through the white paper and I wasn't able to find anything. I've, fed it into Chat GPT, and it pretty much told me that it doesn't call it smart contracts, but it acts as a smart contract. It has functions that act as a smart contract. But
Mhm.
again, AI doesn't always get it right.
Yeah, I wasn't able to find anything on Grok. Um, and yeah, here in the documentation, even it doesn't really share much more than just the overall description on how it works.
Well, do
Saying
you want me
anybody
to
can
while
create
you
an
while
anchor.
you dig some more? Do you want me to just kind of go over the pools and kind of how we're earning and stacking more KTA?
Oh yeah, yeah, because
All
it
right.
is a live token.
Yeah,
Even though they did launch their test net, they do have their token that launched, and it was a fair launch. I
which is
saw,
important.
yeah,
Actually,
I
go
saw on
go
their
over go
Discord.
over that real quick. I want people to understand what a fair launch is, because that's powerful.
Yeah, I jumped in the Discord and the guy said that it was a fair launch, and that means no VCs, no lockups, no pre-sales. It's all the tokens are out there, um, and I don't know how they distributed it or if they just said, "Hey, we have our tokens, they're launched, come by." But I know Hyperliquid did a fair launch, and when they had their airdrop, the token just kept running, and I think it's still up pretty good. What is the Hyperliquid hype USDT? Yeah, I mean this is what a fair launch looks like. This is the airdrop, and usually they go down after an
Oh
airdrop,
yeah,
but
well usually
this
they'll
is
spike and then they
the
freaking
spike and then
drop like a
drop.
freaking rock.
But this man, and then we were at just $10 beginning of April, and then boom, back up. So fair launch can be very good for
Well, it's healthy. It's healthy
yeah,
for the pro- project and the token and token price.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to touch on if you want to throw it over to my screen real
You
quick. I'm
can
just
get
going to go over
pow.
some of these positions, and if you want to kind of just get ready for
Oh, I got the testnet stuff set up after
that's what
the.
I was wanting you to go over. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Take it for now.
all right.
We'll get into it.
So what I got, so I started with $580. I've been able over the past week and a half. I actually grew that to 1,400. So some really really nice returns off of it. Now on top of that, I decided to cash out some of my other crypto, about 2,500 bucks, and I put another 1,500 into this wrapped ETH Keeta position, and I'm earning about $50 to $60 a day on this, about 2,800 bucks.
Damn.
Um, and I'm just going to be rolling that back into it because again, I'm trying to get a $5,000 position in Keeta, and right now I'm sitting at about 4,000 because I have this one. I opened another one down here, just because I wanted to offset the ranges, like we do, where just to make sure that if we do get a pullback that I stay in range at least on part of one position. And then I have some sitting in my wallet as well, so I can get some full price appreciation
What's your
on
range on that?
so this one is 40%, and
Oh fuck.
then this bottom one's 40% as well, super wide ranges.
Super wide.
Yeah, no, you could definitely narrow them down and be making a lot more than 636%. But you
And
know
you're
me, I'm
still
very
earning that?
yeah.
Fuck.
That's why I've had this Keeta position for over a week now. This is the one I was making $2,000 plus, and it was a 40% wide
Mm.
range. So there's really no need to make it like a 10 or 12%, unless you want to do a smaller position, and doing that narrower range is going to give you a significant bump in APR. But I tried bumping down the range, and it really didn't help the APR a whole lot. I think I got
Mm.
it up to like 800 or 900% when I pulled the range in, and so kind of the cost benefit really didn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
To only get 200%, but be a lot more likely to get bumped out of range and not be earning, made no sense to me. So both of the ranges are 40%. It was a nice balance between APR and having a nice wide range to stay in range.
Mm-hmm.
So between the two, like I said, I'm earning like 60-70 bucks a day off of 3,300 bucks. you
Damn.
know that's a pretty damn good you know daily yield off of that small amount of money. Not that that's a small amount of
Yeah.
money, but still, I mean, I'm creeping up. If the APRs creep up a little
I
bit,
mean,
or we
you're
get some more volume, I might be earning 100 bucks a day. And in that case, if it kept up for a month, I'd double my money. I'd double my
oh yeah,
bag.
you're 10% a day, pretty much. Shit, that's pretty good.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, well, 10% would be more like
Or
300.
300,
But
yeah.
yeah, if I was making
Or oh,
$300, so
yeah.
$100 a day would be like about 3.3%. I'm making about 3.3% a day. So
Fuck.
roughly, it's not exact math, but you get,
3,000 a month, man. Shit. Who needs a day
oh,
job?
dude, as flat as the markets have been, I mean, I made 4 grand this month, just in yield,
Woo.
I mean, just in yield.
We got
Whenever you
Nick.
talk about the Plume mainnet going live, what do you think that will do? Um, Honestly, the Plume mainnet, I don't like to speculate because I don't want to get people's hopes up, and I'm not into hype and stuff like that. I just know Plume is a solid project,
Hmm.
but I will say this: when Plume mainnet goes live, I've been posting about 5 new dexes that are built on Plume, and I'll actually bring those up real quick because I want you to get to that. Let me see.
Oh, and this is a good point you bring up.
Yeah, this right here. The Plume Genesis.
Hmm.
That's the word on every goon's lips. Why anticipate the Genesis mainnet launch without knowing the decentralized exchanges that will be powering Plume Network? At this moment, these are the dexes supporting Plume Network. You got Ambient Finance, Galaxy Finance, Raven Swap, Zoomy, Rooster Protocol, and Status Exchange. And I actually have all of these bookmarked. Let's see. And so I can like bounce to each of these real quick. So here's Ambient.
Hmm.
And I mean, you can see, it's already going. It's just waiting for mainnet to go live. I mean, they already have 4.9 billion in total volume. They've already generated almost 8 million in fees and almost 14 million in TVL. So, this is already going. This is built on Plume. Here's another one. Here's Galaxy. And I think, aren't you messing around with this one?
Oh no, that's a different galaxy.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
So, again, here's another Dex that's going to be, live on Plume. Here's Rooster Protocol, the official Dex of Plume Network. So it has, yeah, 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 talk of the walk. Um, so yeah, they have liquidity pools here, but as you can see, there's there's not a whole lot of volume right now because, and they're coming soon because mainnet's not live. So, these are all
Hmm.
established. They have TVL. They have, they're ready to go. They just, the mainnet's not live yet. So let's see. We'll do one more. Let's see what Zoomy's up to.
Oh, Izumi.
Yeah. So again, you can see that, they have a bunch of different pools that,
Yeah, Izumi's been live for a while.
yeah. But
That's
again, without mainnet live, there's a lot of TVL and there's a lot of volumes and stuff like that that aren't happening. This is just doing other chains. Obviously, you got Wrapped ETH, USDC, all these other, you got some Binance, stuff down here. So yeah, again, these are all very. They're just waiting. Yep, there it is right there. Plume. You can click on that, and you got the PUSD. That's the Plume stable coin. So you have the Plume stable coin with Plume, and but yeah, see, no volumes. Zero volumes. They have some liquidity in there, but no volumes. So yeah, until that mainnet
mhm.
goes live, we're not going to see a whole lot of action on these. But that being said, to answer your question, um, I I see a lot happening. What effect that is going to have on the Plume price? Um, it could be a buy the rumor, sell the news. It could go a lot of different directions. Me personally, I think that it's going to do nothing but um, make the price go up. It's might be slow at first, but kind of as the liquidity starts getting onboarded, as that tokenization, their ARC engine that onboards real world assets and tokenizes them in a matter of minutes. I think that it's really, really going to help the price. That's my personal opinion. I'm not financial advice, but I'm stacking my plume bags as fast as I can.
Yeah, Nick, mainnet is when the network goes live. So their network, think of Ethereum. Not if Ethereum was not live, that's essentially where Plume is at. So they've developed their network the past few years, and now they're getting ready to launch. And
And they
when
had they
mainnet,
launched alpha, which it was their
oh
kind of their
yeah,
beta. But
right, to onboard developers and stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
but mainnet goes live this week, and what that means is the full functionality.
Hmm.
The tokens out, everything's out, already, but the full functionality to where all of their different offerings. Like I said, Arc is one of their offerings to where, like, if you have a piece of real estate and you want to tokenize it, you can go on there and with a couple of clicks in a couple of minutes, you can mint, uh, basically tokenize it, digitize it, and then you could sell, potentially fractionalized, portions of any real world asset, or in whole. Nice, Stan.
Dan.
Good to hear, man.
So I
Recently
think
reached
vet.
2,500 arrow
Yeah.
minimum and locked into VE arrow. Is there an indicator to know if flight school is achieved? If you have 2,500 arrow and you put it in the VE arrow maxi relay, leave it there until you get the flight school bonus. Once you get the flight school bonus, I would suggest taking it out of the VE Aero Maxi Relay, because as long as it's in the VE Max Aero Maxi Relay, it stays max locked at 4 years. The countdown isn't going. So if you're wanting to unlock it in 4 years, take it out of the VE Aero Maxi Relay after you get the flight school bonus.
Hey, Keeta's going up again. We got, dang, 104.
Oh yeah.
Woo. We getting the pumps.
Yeah, so I got, let's see. Oh, hold on. What did you say about pools?
Oh, where's
Keeta over
Jed?
$1 again. All right. So basically, I'll just touch on this real quick, then let's kick it over to the test net. So this is the best way that I've found to stack bags is liquidity pools. If you don't have just a ton of dry powder, or you don't make a bunch of money, if you're not selling feet pics on on freaking OnlyFans or
Only
something like
toes.
that. Yeah, yeah. Hey, whatever you got to do to stack your bags, I ain't judging. Yeah,
Hey.
right, right. Hey, you know what? We need to start a DCA, a feet pics, you know, freaking channel on OnlyFans so we can get some more dry powder. Um, so this is the best way that I've found. With Plume, I started out with $1,500. I have about because the price has dropped. I have about 4 grand now of Plume, and it was all free. Above that 1,500, that was all just from earning on my Plume liquidity pools. These right here. Freaking, you can see I got about 3,000 here, about, roughly 1,000 there. And then I got some Plume in my wallet. So altogether, roughly 4,000. And it started out with $1,500. And I didn't put any, new in, for a while there. Plume was just printing and I just kept stacking it. So now I'm doing the same thing with Keeta. I started out with $580, built that up to 1,400. So like more than doubled it in a week, and then I cashed out. Like again, some of my other crypto, plussed up my bags, and I'm just going to see if I can. I'm at about 4 grand right now, and I'm going to see if I can get it to 5, 6, 7 grand before hopefully before Keto really takes off. But if not, if these pump, then I'll get price appreciation. Plus, I'm just going to keep earning yield. So it's a win-win. About the only time I lose money is if the market's dumb. And if these go out of range, as long as I don't rebalance or I don't close out that position, that's why it's called impermanent loss. Is it's only permanent once you rebalance or you close out the position. If you just hold it and wait for it to come back up into range, you'll be right back where you started. You're not going to lose anything. Um, and that's important to understand in these ranged liquidity pools. It's all about patience, and that's why we teach what we do here on the channel, where you have staggered positions, to make sure that you can use ranged positions, but you're always in range. Because if you have one position, and here's your range, you have another position, and you scissor those positions. No, I'm kidding.
And then
And you have these different positions, staggered all the way down. Then you're always in range, but you're earning, those amplified rewards. And then just if it keeps going up, then you just you keep on moving those positions as it moves. So anyway, that's just kind of one technique that we've tried. But yeah, if nobody has any questions, let's go ahead and jump over to the test net, brother.
Gonna jump it on over.
Fucking ETH
Let's
is
do
moving too, man.
Yeah, we got nice, some nice pumps. Bitcoin up 106.
Yeah, ETH's up to 26.25.
Shoot, that it's following the M2 money supply pretty good. Um, which is that chart was crazy. So yeah, we're continuing our little testnet adventure into Keeta, and I want to bring up that point that you made about the Plume, the projects building on Plume. So this goes for any testnet that's being developed. You don't want to just focus on that one project that is developing. There's a whole host of projects that are developing on these networks that will have a token. And sometimes a project won't launch their token, but others will. And that's where you can capitalize on the most using other projects in the ecosystem. And I've faded certain projects because they didn't do an airdrop, and then other projects in the ecosystem did quite healthy airdrops, and I missed out. So it it kind of had to put my foot in my mouth. So don't fade these projects being built on Plume or Keeta for that matter. Since we're diving into this, and
We're at an all-time high. Keeta's at an all-time high.
shit. Yeah, there was actually today. So let me see. I got an airdrop today that I didn't know I qualified for. I think it was out for like a week or two. But this Giza protocol, I completed a quest on layer 3. This one wasn't a test net. This one was a mainnet campaign, but it was on the base network. So I got a $40 airdrop for completing some tasks, doing some
Nice.
transactions, and I was like, oh shit, I found out today that I qualified $40. So, and that's a perfect example. I didn't know that I qualified for that, but just because I have such a large on-chain footprint, um, not the only thing, but so my on-chain footprint, is all over the place. So I qualify for stuff that I don't normally, I wouldn't normally find, but that's the key. Just got to interact with all kinds of shit, and eventually you'll get rewarded handsomely. It's kind of hit or miss, but here we go. In the Keeta website, you can go to the testnet up here in the top right. There's the Explorer tab where you can see the blockchain Explorer. Here's the wallet, which takes you to this testnet wallet. And you have the faucet, which a faucet is where you get tokens for the testnet. It's fake crypto, no real world value. You can't transfer that to Ethereum and cash out, so don't try. But here, you'll create a wallet if you haven't done one, if you haven't created one before. If you have, you can import a wallet, but creating a wallet will give you, and this is usually 12 words, but this is 24 words, which, like Cardano, all Cardano wallets pretty much have a 24-word seed phrase.
Go ahead and screenshot this so you can steal all
Yeah,
this
you
crypto
can
later.
you can do this. 'Cause yeah, I've already got our wallet set up.
I know.
But you
I'm just
can fuck around with this wallet, and then you have to input all of these in order on the next page. But I will go ahead and jump over to our testnet wallet that we have set up. Here in the account page, you can.
Yeah, don't forget to give an update on our channel
Mhm.
wallet.
Yeah. You got the seed phrase that you can make sure you write down because it is based on the browser. It doesn't have a built-in or a plug-in browser extension. So you have to make sure that you keep your seed phrase if you do want to go to another PC. And also down here on the bottom left, you can access the blockchain explorer right here and the token faucet if you don't have it bookmarked. So once you get your wallet set up, this will be the page. You'll see 0 KTA in here. In order to get KTA, go to receive over here, and this is your Keeta address. So you'll copy that, and then go over to this testnet faucet page. You'll put your address as the recipient, the amount, and usually there's a you can only claim in a 24-hour period, but it looks like this does not. So I guess you can claim however much. And now you see we have 20 KTA, and you can see in the activity right here, recent activity, you see the 10 KTA, and this is your address. This is the block transaction hash, which is a timestamp, or basically the ID of your transaction. And the blockchain explorer was down earlier, and now it's back up. So thanks to I jumped in their Discord, in the Keeta Discord, and somebody mentioned it, this explorer being down, and they immediately was like, okay, we'll reach out to the team. And that was an hour before we went on, I think, and it's back up. So yeah, pretty quick turnaround, I will say. So that's nice. I know that some of the people in the chat on Saturday were saying, you got to get in the Discord, you got to get in the Discord. So it looks like they're being pretty active in there, so that's good. And yeah, Blockchain Explorer, you can just see what assets were sent, where it went to. And we'll go back over here to the wallet. I don't have another person to send this to, but you could send KTA to somebody, put in whatever address and how much you want to send. Obviously that won't work because that's not the right address, and you can't send it to yourself. So that's another sad thing. But this DeFi crypto airdrops token right here, you can go into this token manager and create a token.
Oh, nice.
So I just created a DeFi crypto airdrops token, and you put in your token symbol and supply.
Don't go out trying to buy the DCA token. It doesn't.
No.
It's not worth shit.
It's not.
It's a shit coin.
It might be worth shit itself.
Right. Definitely a rug pull.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can just put in and create a token. And this is just part of the testnet experience, making sure that their functionality is working, the anchors are working. And I'd really, once we find one of these developers, we'll be able to iron out this whole anchors thing. Now here in the swap, you can see that we have our tokens. I will swap some of this DCA into, oh yeah, I can't.
You better diamond hand that DCA token.
Here, we'll do the test. And yeah, I can't send tokens to myself, but I don't know why I can't swap though. I don't know why you can't swap to yourself, because I want to swap to a different token, but it won't let me. So that's a weird thing. You can't really swap. So I wonder why this, because usually you can swap in your wallet, but I can't even swap the fake tokens that's interesting. Okay. We'll have to ask the devs about that as well. But this is pretty simple little testnet. I know they just launched last month, so functionality there's very little things to do. You usually start out with just basic bare bones features and then develop more functionality and utility. But this, for a testnet early on, it's moving really good. It's not clunky. Even though the testnet explorer was down, they brought it back up. Sometimes you have a hard time getting testnet tokens. They can be a pain for whatever reason. Just normally when blockchains use smart contracts, I know that this is different. There's issues and bugs in the contract, so I'm wondering if these anchors and the whole way the DAG network works in and of itself will make it easier for test nets to function in developing. Because it seems like these DAG networks function a lot better than traditional blockchains. So now I'm wondering how much better these test nets will be developed or work in the development phase. Yeah, I got to find a dev to get on here because we got
I,
a lot of
that's
questions, man.
actually what, well, that's actually what I'm doing right now. I mean, he's trying to be helpful. This in shambles guy, and he's
Oh,
definitely being super helpful. But the problem is that he's not really answering the question. So I
yeah.
put it, is there anyone in here that can school me on how Keeta does or accomplishes the functionality of smart contracts? And he said currently they aren't needed as the functionality is natively on KeetaNet. Which okay. I said, you know, can you expound? And he said there isn't a need for them.
Hmm.
And so, if you're listening, it's not answering the question of if this is a DeFi project, in decentralized finance, there has to be a mechanism. And from what you're saying, it sounds like that it's natively on the on Kita, but that if that functionality is there, it's a smart contract. It's just not being called a smart contract. So the function. It's I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a super technical dude, but there's has to be something like when you get into a liquidity pool and it records the NFT that you get. It's a receipt or a record of my wallet put X amount of liquidity into a liquidity pool, and these are the parameters of the pool. It's a keto wrapped ETH pool. Whatever. It's on this platform. Whatever. Um, if Kita is doing that natively on chain, it's still doing those same functions. It's just not maybe in the form of a smart contract, but it's still acting as a smart contract. So is there another technology that they're using? I really would love to talk to a dev that would be able to detail how it is accomplishing this functionality if indeed they are not using smart contracts. Did I articulate that well enough?
Yeah. No, it makes sense because what is that mechanism that is used to facilitate the transactions and all that? Because yeah, if it's not a smart contract or like what kind of code is it or is it? I don't know. Yeah, I just what's under the hood.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's really all you can do right now on the Kita testnet. And I know that somebody said on Saturday that they're not going to be doing an airdrop, which is fine. I love learning about new projects and utilizing or finding new tech, and that doesn't mean that the projects being built on Kita won't have their tokens launched. So just keep that in mind. Um, but yeah, this is definitely given me a whole host of questions and stuff to ponder and
No, exactly. And I just want to be educated.
yeah.
I'm ignorant. And I'll be the first one to admit it. Is everything that I've dealt with so far uses smart contracts to basically. I mean, that's what makes DeFi possible. And I'm huge into DeFi, obviously. But if they have a new way of doing it, and my understanding is because of a lot of the things that Kita does, is what is allowing it to potentially have the 10 million transactions per second, which is phenomenally fast.
Hmm.
So, I mean, if they're able to pull this off, I mean, this is super bullish for this project. I just would really love to have a dev be able to come on and break it down like a fraction, break it down, super stupid for me so that I can understand it. And so, everyone, out there listening can understand.
Like the files are in the computer.
Oh, right. No,
Ah, ah, ah.
that's what I feel like. I feel like the files are in the computer.
Wait, what are they?
Yeah. So I'm going to smash the computer.
uh, oh yeah, is Keeta still a good buy? We're not recommending buying anything, but we're just showing you how we're utilizing certain price movement and or I wouldn't even say price movement, but attention. Because how did you come across Keeta?
To
Like,
be
what was?
honest, I was talking with TJ over at Discover Crypto, and he just
Mm,
very briefly mentioned it. That it was a new DeFi project. He was just like, hey, this Keeta project, new DeFi project, and they just moved on with the conversation. And he's huge into DeFi, and so I was like, I'll look into it. And so I started diving into it, and it looked super interesting. And it had just done this phenomenal freaking pump from like 10 cents to 70 cents. And so I had that same question that Abdul just asked. Is it too late to get into it? And so I was like, you know what? No guts, no glory. So I opened that liquidity pool position to start stacking it while I learned about it. And I did that, and again, I over doubled my money in a week, just from earning yield. And then then I bought the pullback. We had a little bit of a pullback, and I bought that, and stacked some more into that liquidity pool. But I mean, to answer your question, Keeta is sitting at number 212 by market cap. So,
oh shit.
fully diluted of value is just over a billion now. The total supply is 1 billion, as far as token count, and the circulating supply is about 40% out. So there's 400 million out. So there's still
Hmm.
60%, yet to be released into circulation. I haven't looked into the tokenomics yet, but the max supply is 1 billion. Um, and then, of course, the market cap currently is 419 million. So it's not a super small market cap. Usually for a small market cap, you want to see it under 50 million. But it still is, a lower market cap. Like I said, seeing is it's at 212. And if you want to talk a little bit more about the test net, I can pull up that market cap of, and we can do some moon
Yeah,
math. And
I'm actually gonna that wallet that I made that was on the screen. I'm just gonna do a little a dummy transaction because I want to see how this send and receive works between two wallets. So
while you do that,
I'm gonna set up. I
I'm gonna
got
do the
this.
market cap of, and see if it if Kita gets to the market cap of some of the coins that are like in the top 100 or top 50, what we'd be looking at as far as a price.
So here we go. Secondary wallet. Got our Keeta. Now I'm going to receive on this second wallet.
Oh, shit, it's not even on here.
Ooh, I'll send some of this test token over. Now, highly recommend always do a small amount for a test transaction when you first, or not even when you first, anytime you're sending large amounts to different wallets. Even myself, when I send stuff to Coinbase, I always make sure to send like $1 or 50 cents, something small, to make sure that I'm sending it to the right place. Even though I've sent it there 100 times, I just want to make sure. But and some people will rely on this autofill. If your wallet address is in the autofill, don't use it because if it happens to have one letter or number missing, and you go ahead and oh yeah, that's the right address, and something happens and you backspace out of it, I don't know, but it goes to an address that doesn't exist, you're fucked. So I always make sure to copy from my wallet itself, copy the address from my wallet. That way I'm making sure I get the right address. And also, if you're getting it from the Blockchain Explorer, I've seen some people try and copy your wallet address on the Blockchain Explorer, and it's actually a scam wallet. Oh, there goes my fucking zoom in thing again. So yeah, there's all kinds of weird ways of getting scammed. So just make sure you're copying your address from your wallet right here. And or in this case on Keeta, you want your address from here. But and don't try and type in a wallet address ever, just from because that is you want a quick way to lose your fucking money. Here, let's receive. I want to send this test token. Damn it. Give it a little test.
So if you go off
That's quick.
the fully diluted value, it's if Keeta reaches the same level as ICP, then you're looking at about a $2, and some change, so you're looking at maybe like a two, maybe a 2x from here. If it goes up to something as far as XLM, you're looking at an 8.5x, potentially.
Mm,
But that's with all the tokens released. So like if all 1 billion tokens were released, which they're not currently, so I mean that tells you something. So basically about roughly half, just shy of half, 40% of the tokens are in circulation. So you're looking at about a 4x. If they don't release any more tokens, I haven't looked at the tokenomics, in the release schedule yet. But yeah, I mean, we can do moon math, but you got to be realistic as well. So, is there money to be made? Absolutely. And with liquidity pools, there's a lot of money to be made. And again,
yeah.
that's the beauty of DeFi and the liquidity pools is you're not just relying on price appreciation. We can be trending sideways for months, and you're just stacking more for free. You're earning 600 to 2,000% APR for free, and and then that's getting price appreciation as well. So it's I can't stress enough that learn DeFi and at least have a portion of your HODL portfolio in DeFi, stacking your bags 24/7 for you.
Yeah. And I sent this test token over. See, we got the 10 test token on our second
Nice.
wallet. So the transactions go pretty quick, very quick. So that's positive. You don't have any hangups or any errors. So
Oh, hold on a second. Hey, Boosted, are you a dev? You said I'm in the Discord. Which option chat should I be? Are you a dev for? I don't think
oh
so.
no,
That's
he wanted to get into the plume on Uniswap, and he was
oh
trying to find yeah. So Ellie and Jay had him join the Discord.
okay. Sorry. I saw that and I was like, oh shit. Do we got to? Because I recognize the name. I just wondering if he was a dev for freaking Keeta.
Keto.
All right, cool. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, which no, we'll make sure to get that video to you, or point you towards the right video. Because yeah, I've been really enjoying the plume side stuff, and I that initiate airdrop. So the free airdrop I got a few months ago, I cashed out like 40 or 50 bucks worth of it, just over the weekend, and I put that into Plume. So that's another, you know, great way of getting free tokens and using it in DeFi, rolling it back into your LPs.
that's all I haven't taken a single dollar and off ramped it into fiat. In the 7 months that I've been doing DeFi, I've put every dollar back in to DeFi,
That's
and that
awesome.
well, and that's why I have a $25,000 DeFi portfolio instead of a $15,000 one. Even though we
Hmm.
had the big pullback, and I love saying this every episode. If we go back up to where Arrow is back at $2.20, and we're at those recent all time highs. I'm going to have like 80,000, $85,000. Now with the new liquidity that I injected, possibly more just in DeFi. Like that doesn't even include my HODL bags. So
Hmm.
that 15 grand, I've potentially, once we go back up, I potentially have turned 15 grand into 80 grand just using DeFi.
Yeah, Stan said ICP's dropping their AI project tomorrow.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know a ton about ICP. I know Drew's really big, or not really big on it. He was really big on it, and yeah, I have not heard a whole lot about ICP lately. Doesn't mean they're not going to do great things, but um, it's you have to be realistic, and that's why I cashed
Mm.
out some of my Casper. Um, is not to say that I don't still think that they're going to do great things, and I still have a very nice bag of it. But I've been stacking it for like 3 years or 4 years now, and it just has not moved. And so I wanted to diversify a little bit more and build up some other bags. And it kind of feels like ICP is one of those because I mean they've been around a while, and there's just a lot of people that are doing kind of what they're trying to do. The use case that the pain points they're trying to address.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to, um, we've said this many times. Don't be afraid to reinvest or
Reallocate.
reallocate stuff into other things that might be doing better. Just
To an extent, you don't want
yeah.
to you don't want to be always be chasing the hot narrative because if you're chasing you usually end up being exit liquidity for other people. So and I'm kind of preaching to the choir because or I need to practice what I preach because I got into Keeta after it did a 7x or 8x, but again I'm looking at the DeFi aspect of it as opposed to just wanting to catch price appreciation. So if the price goes up like it has been, it's been treating me really well. But
Hmm.
I'm more interested in the DeFi paying me out. Like the lowest I've seen it go is 600% APR. The highest I've seen it, I think at one point it was at 2,400 percent APR. And so I've already well, before I injected the new liquidity, I had already doubled my money. So I could potentially take out my initial investment and I'd just be playing with house money at that point and put that liquidity into a new project and try to do the same thing. But I'm going to let it ride on Keeta. I do see it as a very interesting project, and the fundamentals. If you haven't watched it, our episode we did on Saturday will break down why we're so bullish on it.
Hmm. Yeah, let's see. ICP sentiment's pretty bad. They do have their fans, though. I mean, every project has their hardcore following, but yeah, diversification is key. And I had what was that V chain for 4 years, and it was earlier this year that I just, or was it last year? I forget when it spiked up to like 7 cents or 8 cents, and I was like, I could hold this, but I'm just gonna move this into something else. So I moved it into, forget what it was, some other project, but it ended up going back down, and I made a good move. So don't, it wasn't a lot, but 300 or $400, but shit, you can, like you said, turn that into DeFi and have it earn for you, and that's a lot better than holding it. And if you're going to hold an asset anyways that you believe in, not saying VeChain would be good for DeFi stuff, but something like even with Plume, I'll show my. I mean, I'm out of range right now.
Ooh, keep my Keeta APR just jumped 400%.
Shoo.
Yeah, so like across all of it, it's at just over 1,000% APR right now. So my daily rewards total across both of my Keeta positions is by itself $100 a day now. So if it holds, if it holds this, I'm earning $100 a day off of $3,500.
Oh shit! Is that on base?
It is. It is on base.
Nice.
It's on Uniswap and on Base Chain.
Oh man, we got we got a nice little pump.
Yeah, yeah, it's doing nicely. I am very, very much liking this.
And is it only Kita ETH, or do they have USD?
They have some, but it doesn't have the TVL, and
Okay.
it doesn't have the fees. It's not earning the fees that the ETH KTA position is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wanting to leverage these crypto pairs more, as opposed to my usual crypto stable.
Okay.
The crypto earn better potentially, especially if both assets, like now Kita's pumping right now. If we can get ETH pumping along with it, in a correlated fashion, then it's going to be earning on steroids. I
Uh,
very, very easily could make some really good money off this, and that's what I'm betting on. Because everyone in crypto right now is waiting for ETH to pump, to kick off the alt season. And so, seeing that's kind of one of the reasons I got into Keeta is I saw the Keeta wrapped ETH position, and I saw that Keeta was pumping, and so I figured that it would, pull back or it would range sideways for a while, and hopefully ETH would take off with it. And so I'm doing a bit of a gamble. And because if both of these, I mean, right now I'm making a bunch of money off the APY and the Keeta pumping. But if ETH starts pumping too, then I'm going to be getting the price appreciation of both, wrapped ETH and Keeta and the yield, and that's just going to put portfolio on steroids. I mean, just while we've been live, I've made $300, from Keeta pumping and the yield that I've earned.
looking like a cool guy with your
Oh,
Kita
trying.
glasses on.
Oh shit. Either that or what is it? The Casper, freaking Jason Casper with the
Oh
uneven
yeah,
butt cheeks.
the uneven butt cheeks.
Yeah, yeah, or whatever he calls it.
The juicy ravioli. Oh yeah, and if you guys aren't familiar with the DeFi rules that Vet was kind of touching on, the reason why he doesn't
Mm.
touch certain assets that are under a certain total value locked, why he didn't touch the stable pair, because you want to make sure you hit certain metrics. And I brought this up to my aunt and uncle when I was showing them the whole DeFi liquidity pool process, and they're like, well, how do you know that it's it's good? How do you know what to pick? This and that. So I was walking them through all these things. You don't just want to do it blindly. You can find one with 2,000% APY, but if it's not hitting these certain metrics, you're gonna be ass up. So
Yeah.
make
So
sure you're doing it right.
absolutely. So Abdul, our channel here, just make sure that you're following us, and we teach DeFi. If you follow our channel, I have a section called the DeFi Academy, and just start with episode one, and it will just automatically take you to the next episode, and it just builds on what is DeFi, how to use hot and cold wallets, the tools that I use and how I use them to do DeFi, how I pick my pools, just all of those
Mhm.
sorts of things. And then of course you can join the Discord. You can talk to almost anybody in here. I'm always monitoring that, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have. Everything we do is free. We don't charge for anything. We don't make anything doing this. We're not here to shill anything. We're not here to try to get you to buy anything. Everything we do is 100% free. We just want to help you all earn money and make a better life for yourself and your families. That's all we're here for. So, don't ever feel like that we're, pushing you to get into any particular project or any pools. Really quick, I can show you, how I got into those plume pools and how I got into the Keeta pools. For the most part, did you have anything left to show, or do you want to go ahead and kick
Oh
it over to
shoot,
me?
here.
Or?
Yeah, I'll kick it over.
Oh
Sorry,
yeah,
I
no, no,
forgot I
no,
had
no
stop the
worries, no
screen.
worries. I just wasn't sure if you were done. All
All
right,
good.
so first of all, somebody asked about the plume pools. So if you want to get into these plume pools, this is how you do it, and it's the only plume pools I've been able to find. So you just go to Uniswap, you go to Explore up here at the top, search tokens. You can see I've already searched it, but you just type in plume, you can select it, and it will bring this up. And so this is just the price chart for plume, and you can swap for it if you want to get a hold of some. You can swap after you connect your wallet. You can swap whatever asset you have in your wallet for plume. You can see right here. I have 1,349 plumes sitting in my wallet. Um, you can come down here and you click on pools, and it will show you the available pools, and you can see that it's growing, but it still doesn't meet what Jeff was showing you. I like to see at least $250,000 worth of TVL, or total value locked, in a pool before I enter into it. I don't like, um, for slippage reasons, and a lot of reasons. And then also I look at the volume. I like to see at least $250,000 in 24-hour volume or better. Reason being is volume is how you are earning your fees. Volume is people like you and me that are swapping. So like, up here, if I'm swapping ETH for Plume, then I am, you know, I'm paying a small fee. It might only be like 0.3% or something like that, but I'm paying a small fee. And so, everyone that's swapping is just, that money is trickling in, and you are providing the liquidity for that. So for that, you earn a portion of the fees, depending on how much of the pool that you own. And so you can see, it looks like the pool APR is down. But this is the one that I'm in, this version 4, and it has $283,000 worth of TVL. And it's been earning really well. So if you want to get into that one, you would just click on it. It will take you to the pool and give you a little bit of analytics, tell you if it looks like for whatever reason the analytics are down right now. But then you can hit this add liquidity button. And then from there, you just select if you want to do a full range position. So one of my positions is a full range position, meaning that the minimum price can go to zero and the max price is forever. It means that you're always in range, you're always earning. You're going to earn less, a lower percentage, but you're always going to be earning. Now, you can do a custom range, but because the analytics is down right now, it's not going to allow you to do it. But you can select a price range, and in our prior videos, we show ways that you can look for areas of support and resistance to pick your ranges. And the narrower the range, the more APR you're going to earn. But the narrower the range, as the price moves, you might go out of range, and you're not going to earn if you're out of range. So, these are all things that we teach in previous episodes, and that I'm getting into detail in the DeFi Academy. So, that's the plume pools. Now, the way that I got into these KTA pools, the easy way, or kind of easy way, there's two ways you can do it. You can come here to Aerodrome, and up here type in KTA, and you can see you have two options. You have one that is a full range pool that you're only going to earn only 46%. So if you click on that one, I know I feel stupid saying things like only 40%. 40% APR is damn good. Um, so this is a full range position. Like, say that I want to do this. I'm going to deposit. Oh, never mind. Um, I'm not going to deposit that. I was just wanting to show you. Oh, that was a full range position. Now your other option is to pick a range. And you can see right here, you have basic volatile, and on Aerodrome, that means a full range pool. On if it says concentrated volatile, that means that you're concentrating your liquidity into a price range. That's the easiest way I can explain it. But you can see the difference. Like right now, they're claiming a 10,000% APR on, if you do a narrow enough range. I'm not going to do that narrow of a range. So you can see that if you do a plus and minus 4%, so that would be a total of 8%. You can get a 2,500% APR right now. If you bump it up to a plus or minus 10%, so a total of 20% in your range, then you get a 1,000% APR. If you do a plus or minus 20, which is a 40%, which is what I'm doing, right now it's saying it's a 500% APR. But if you come over here, you can see I'm actually earning 1,000%. So see, I have a 40% range and I'm earning 1,000%. VFAT does a lot better at giving accurate APRs that I've found usually. So VFAT is, and I have an episode in the DeFi Academy on this, is called it an aggregator. And so what it does is it allows you to have access to like Uniswap, PancakeSwap, Aerodrome, Velodrome, a bunch of different decentralized exchanges, all in one place. It also allows you increased functionality. So you can deposit a single asset. So if you just have a bunch of USDC, you can just deposit that and it will automatically do whatever swapping is necessary to enter you into a pool. It allows you to rebalance. And I apologize if a lot of this terminology you don't understand. Again, I explain it all in our episodes. Um, Rebalance is basically just readjusting your position when you're out of range. Withdraw, kind of self-explanatory. Compound is basically taking your earnings and compounding them back into your position. And then harvest, where you can just harvest or take profits. And the cool thing about VFAT on Aerodrome, when you have your assets staked, or when you have your pool staked, you only earn in Aero, and so your earnings are anchored to the price of Aero going up and down. Here, you can actually, when you harvest, you can select any asset you want to take profits in. So if I want to take profits in Keeta, I can take profits in Keeta. If I want to take them in wrapped ETH, if I want to take them in Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin, I can take them in the dollar value of whatever asset I want. So then you can open up other positions, because that's what I do constantly. If you watch our channel, I'm constantly taking out all of these earned yield on all my different positions and opening up new positions. So that's why we love DeFi so much. Is it allows you to start with a small amount of money, and properly invested and with a little bit of patience, you allow it to grow. And once you have a couple of $100, you can open another position and let that grow. And that just adds to how much you earn each day. And then you take that and you open another position and another and another. And that's all I've done. I started out with 15,000, and again, if we get back to where we were at when I started with that 15,000, because of 6, 7 months of patience and tracking my progress and making sure I'm staying profitable and treating it like a small business, I'll have about $80,000 in my DeFi portfolio because of that. So I hope that answers your question. I know that was a little long winded, but I like to try to be as detailed as possible when I'm explaining this because I know it's very, very complicated, and do not get discouraged. I got very discouraged when I was trying to learn it. I am not a super technical dude. Jeff is much more intelligent than I am when it comes to technology and things like that. I'm just an old retired vet that got his head hit too many times. So I'm a little bit slow, and I was able to learn it. So do not get discouraged. Watch the videos. If you have questions, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help
Yeah. Oh, and a shout out, man, to this fucking legend. I got in Keeta at
you.
30 cents.
my,
Jeez.
my hats off
Yeah.
to you, sir. My hats off
Hey.
to you. Yeah, I think my average entry is at 70 cents.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any of the ETH plume pools, or is there or any of the other V3 plume
Yeah, there's
USDC?
something right now. There's something going on with I don't know if they're resetting. You know how like on Aerodrome on Wednesday nights they pay out the locks and all that, and
Uh,
they reset a lot of their APRs, and like it's almost like it goes through like a reboot. I'm
mm,
wondering if Uniswap is doing something similar right now because when I
okay.
pulled up Plume and went to the pools, like even the one I was in was showing, yeah, see, like everything's showing 0%, and these are the ones, and it's not even showing the V3s all the way down here showing no TVL. So yeah,
Mm,
there's something up right now.
okay. Yeah, I was like, I know this had more volume because I'm in the V4 plume USDC, but I was like, I know that there's more TVL than that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They're like doing something right now, the maintenance or something. So yeah, don't fret none. But yeah, the 1 day volume right now is just shy of $500,000, and total TVL is 1.7 million, and that's not correct because I mean you can go down here and look. This one pool here has 2.1 million in TVL. So, you can see that they're, whatever's going on, they're off right now. Well, do you have any closing thoughts or anything you want to cover before we cut this off? Or does
No,
anybody in
that
the
was
chat have any questions? Or
I haven't seen any pop ups since. I mean, we've been pretty good on covering the chats. We appreciate everyone interacting, man. We love these wild bunch.
yeah,
Um,
no, the back and forth really helps. And you, all of you in the chat, and those of you watching on X, please feel free to come over, follow us on YouTube, and jump in the chat
mhm.
because that's why we do this. We want to help you all, and we want to answer questions. We're not here to listen to ourselves talk, although sometimes it sounds like that's what I'm doing is you know talking a lot and listening to myself talk. I'm just trying to get the as much info out there as possible in the hour and a half that we jump on. But because we only go live usually together twice a week, on Saturday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific and Monday nights 5 p.m. Pacific. And then sometimes during the week I'll go live alone, and that's usually when I do kind of the DeFi lessons and stuff like that. But yeah, that's about all I got, man. If you don't got
He said
anything,
so. VFAT's better to use than Aerodrome.
I I would say yes. There
Just to
are risks.
manage it's
It,
just managing, right? Because
yeah,
the features are a lot more powerful because you can deposit one asset and it'll split it into the two assets you need. So, and there's other rebalancing features and compounding features that Aerodrome doesn't have. It just
yeah.
can make it easier. But
So here, let
yeah.
me let me let me show you this real quick. So it's it's six in one hand, half a dozen in the other. So on Aerodrome, you only have access to Aerodrome, which is great. They have great pools, great volume, great earning. Not taking nothing from Aerodrome. I love Aerodrome. I have a shit ton of it. But on VFAT, I have access to most, not all of the pools on Aerodrome. But you can see here, you have access to Velodrome, Uniswap version 4, Uniswap version 3, QuickSwap, Shadow Swap, which is on Sonic. You have Swap X, Wagme, Oku, Sushi Swap, Pancake Swap, which is a beast when it comes to volumes and TVL. It's actually the largest one, has been for a minute now. Camelot, Base Swap, Aerodrome, Hyper Swap, which is new, and Kitten Swap. Never heard of it.
Meow meow.
Meow, meow. And then, of course, you have Optim. As far as chains, those are the protocols or platforms where the liquidity pools are. But then, of course, the chains. You have Optimism, Unichain, Polygon, Sonic, Fractal, Mode, Arbitrum, Hemi, Avalanche, BNB, Inc., which is Kraken, Kraken's chain, Linea, Base, Ethereum, and Hyper EVM or Hyperliquid. So you have a lot more access to. It saves you a lot of time if you're looking for pools to get into. So like up here, farms are usually full range pools. The pools are usually the concentrated liquidity pools, and then it say that you're wanting to stack something like we'll just say KTA. It will bring up all the pools so you can see. There's a couple on Uniswap. There's a one on Aerodrome. Looks like there's one on Pancake Swap, and another on Sushi Swap. I don't know what this Sequoia is, but that's the pair. But again, you want to look at the TVL. So the only ones of these that I would look at would be this Aerodrome one or one of these two Uniswaps because 50 in TVL. But then you can look at fees. So you can see this one here really isn't earning a whole lot of fees and the AR's low. Same with this version 4. This version 3 that I have, my two positions in, it has $1 million in TVL and has earned $76,000 in fees. And the APR is the 612%. So this right here is the one that the reason I got into it. So I could have gone to each of these platforms and searched endlessly, trying to find these, or I could just use VFAT. And then,
Hmm.
again, I can come here and I can see all the positions that I have, that my, here on VFAT. I can see what my daily rewards are. I can, increase my positions. And if I want to increase, like say I want to increase this, Keeta position here, I can select the pool. I can select increase. I come to here and it's connected to my wallet. You can see I have $564 worth of Keeta in my wallet that I could add if I wanted to. And just as simply as saying, that I want to add that and then drop my slippage, then I can hit this button and it will just automatically increase my position. On Aerodrome, I'd have to go and do a bunch of swapping because to enter this position, I would have to have equal amount of wrapped ETH and KTA. And so I would have to swap some of my KTA for, for wrapped ETH. and then hope that I got the amounts right so that
Mm-hmm.
when I enter it that I don't have some dust left. With this, I can just select, the USDC, the USDT, whatever, the ETH, whatever it is I want to deposit, and it will deposit all of it. It automates the process to where it, sells so much of that asset to match the assets that are for that pool and deposits it. It's just super easy, super simple. It's
Mm-hmm.
if you're new to crypto and you're new to DeFi, it's probably the easiest tool that you're going to find to manage your DeFi. Not saying run out and use this one. There's other ones out there like Crystal is another great platform that does this. What's another one? Beefy is one that it doesn't do liquidity pools. It's more vaults and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one that I personally use. I actually found a really great way to earn on my AVAX on Beefy. It's a wrapped AVAX USDC position, and I've been
Mm.
earning a couple of 100%, per year on that, and been stacking my AVAX bags. So um,
Nice.
again, it's there's just so many ways that you can earn in DeFi. I cannot stress enough to learn this, watch our videos, find other influencers that teach. Just be careful that you're learning from people that understand DeFi and aren't just trying to get you to buy into their program or something like that, because there's a lot of those out there. So
Yes,
sorry,
yes.
went on a bit of a rant.
No, that's great. We got to have the information. Got to have the alpha. I think
Uh,
that's really about it on
all
the.
right. Well, if we don't got any more questions, then I guess we'll end it there. We
Catch
kind
us
of
in the
went over.
Discord.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely join the Discord. It's should be in the description below on the YouTube channel. That's where you're going to find the most help, and we have a great community in there. A lot of the people in the chat are in there, and they're more than happy to help. We're starting a mastermind group, and we definitely want to start getting everybody super educated, and start building out a community to where just not just me that's teaching DeFi, but everyone in the community is available to teach other people DeFi, because there's so much to DeFi is growing so quickly. There is no way that one person can keep up with it.
Mm-mm.
We need a community of people that are learning about these different platforms. And in that mastermind group, we're going to have a weekly video call to where, basically, I want to get to where different people are, becoming subject matter experts on certain aspects and able to start, teaching. So, maybe they've, learned how to use a new protocol, really effectively. Like Pendle is a super confusing one for me. I would love
Mm-hmm.
to find somebody that's well versed on that could teach the community. But anyway, we just started it about a week ago, but we're going to be building that out, and then also in the Discover Investment Group. We're also in that Discord, and but that's about all I got, man.
I just hit 7K. The blockchain
You hit,
report just hit 7K.
oh, congratulations, man!
Woo, 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 woo.
Congratulations, man.
Nice. Yeah, I'll update the description of this video here in a few minutes, so that way you guys can have the right Discord link. Because I know somebody in the chat on Saturday at the end of the show asked, and so I had to go in real quick and update that. But if you give me a few minutes, I'll update the description and get the links for you guys in there, so you can get in the Discord and uh, we can talk there. But
Awesome. All right. Well, till next time, Veteran Crypto out.
later.